So, brothers and sisters, there, uh, back in the day when, um, in the early days of this country, when, um, in, even in this area, uh, the women and even some men used to make these quilts, these patchwork quilts, and they were special at that time. They made them with of pieces of cloth that came from different pieces of clothing, worn out things, but also they put them together, but also each piece had a story, and each piece was put together in a way sometimes to tell a story. Well, way back in that time period, there was a little village, little town up in the Tennessee, North Carolina mountains area-ish, and this little town, it wasn't just the women, but it was the men. All of them were getting together, and they were making the best quilts, best patchwork quilts in the region. There was almost magic in the stitching. Well, a number of them got together, and so one of the men got them all together, and they started a group, almost like a secret society in a way, but mostly just a secret group built around quilting. It was the quilting group. They began to quilt their little quilting society, their little quilting club, if you will, met in this one house, and actually it was the church, and they began to bring in all sorts of pieces of cloth and leather and different colors, different shades. In fact, there was something odd about some of the things that they were collecting, some of the materials that they were collecting. Where they got them, people didn't know sometimes. Um, the whole time, coinciding with that time period, as they're doing that, certain people are, they start to notice that certain people from the neighboring village, the children began to disappear, one after another, every so often in the woods. This seemed to happen time to time with animals and such, but it was getting to be a little too regular. Meanwhile, in the other village, other little town, the quilting society, quilting club, whatever you want to call it, back in those days, I think it would be a society rather than a club, but regardless, they became more and more secretive. People saw them less and less gathering materials, and more they would be in their club, their society, in this little church house, late into the night, late into the night. It got later and later, and over time, they began to become prestigious among those in the town. And in fact, one of the leaders became the mayor. Everything kept going, but in the middle of the night, one night, it was heard a gasp and a yell from within the little church, from within that churchyard, from some inner room inside that building. Almost a blood-curdling scream. And then it went away. And eventually, the society finally brought out what they had been working so hard, so long on. What had been the gossip of the town. And outwalked one more member than there had been that went in. And this member was made of patchwork quilt. Beautiful work, but oddly he walked around and showed off, and they had built them a patchwork man. Somehow he could walk, could babble. They were still teaching him to talk, but it was amazing. But then the town began to get proud of their creation, proud of how they had brought things together of different shades and different colors. But pretty soon they were becoming jealous of those colors, those shades, one after another. They began to backbite and fight and talk bad about each other, and pretty soon they began to usurp that other town. Like, the town had grown. Now they were one town, but people from that other one were less than, and so they put them. They didn't allow them to eat at the same places or drink at the same places. This type of stuff. Well, as that was going on, this Patchwork Man became rowdy and rebellious. He started going out late at night. Things kept getting broken. Pieces kept falling. One day they noticed that a patch had fallen off. Well, they couldn't let anybody know that they had made anything that wasn't a completely beautiful, lovely, they'd never had a quilt that fell apart. That would mean there was something wrong with their stitching. No. So they hid him away in a special room beneath the church. Old, hidden passageways. Something maybe they had built at some time before. Years go by. Years and years. Things are kind of all the same. But that other little town, that little backwater town, we'll call it Blackwater, is where they had, the town that they had enveloped that was within the other one. They began to restructure things, and it became the projects, the low end, the dirty place. Well, and they eventually built a fence in between the two, or at least partially, and pretty much those from our patchwork making town didn't associate with those from that backwater town, so they kind of kept to themselves. Well, kept to their kind, if you will. And one part of the town got richer and richer for all their great quilts that sold all over the world. Meanwhile, the other place got poorer and poorer and more run down and dirtier. One day, a girl from that other town, from the backwater town, Blackwater, named Daisy, walks into the patchwork quilting town, the quilting society, because they basically owned the town, and says she's moving in. More start moving in because apparently those in this backwater town have been popping off babies and, are now a little bit more populated. Things are starting to look a little different. Well, she walks in and notices something's not right about this town. Something's just not right. People are talking, whispering. She goes and visits the church, and their leader's talking as he does and preaching and whatnot, but after a while she meets the other town members, but they're standoffish. Well, anyway, one of the ladies is a little bit nicer. She takes her in, as there's always somebody, always one nice old lady brings Daisy into her home. That night, Daisy hears it. Breath and a maddening scream out in the dark. A moan almost continued for the then went away. The old lady, she asked her about it, and she woke her up and was like, "What was that?" And she was like, "What?" Like they didn't. Oh, that's just the heat, the vents and stuff. It didn't sound like that, Daisy, but Daisy kept on. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, a friend came over. It was one of the old lady's friends, and bringing in the gossip and all. And they're there chewing the fat, and Daisy walks in, and it starts to get a little bit later in the evening, and again, Daisy hears that moan, that sorrowful, pained moan, like a human that's been, like someone who's been deranged or beaten or just soul-sucking moan. And she asks again about it, and they both come up with the same type of excuses or explanations, same type of explanations, but Daisy's not buying it. So, without permission, Daisy just kind of sneaks out of the house and heads over to the little church and walks on in, and the moan starts again. It's louder now. It's definitely within the church, somewhere below the floorboards. She can hear it below the floorboards and up through the vents. Something's coming. She can hear footsteps. Back up in below the decking of the stage or raised floor for the where the podium is and would be where the pastor might preach or whatnot. And lo and behold, the trap door slams open, and out crawls this ragged-looking bum, maybe, but no, it's not a bum. He's got skin hanging from him, and he's massive man. Something. She wants to run. It's too late, really. The creature sees her and nearly jumps back down his hole to close it. Well, Daisy's not going to leave this alone, not now. So she gets up her courage, walks up to the trap door, slips on in. Down she walks, down. There she finds the Patchwork Man. She finds a patch here and a patch there first. She sees him. And she brought a light, so she turns on her flashlight, and there he is. Made of patches. Falling. She looks at him and says, I think you dropped something. He snatches it out of her hand, then crawls back, just kind of crawls back into his corner, trying to hide his face. She's like, seemed like he was more afraid of her than she was of him. So she goes and starts to cross towards him, and he's like, get away, get away. But no. She's like, no. She's like, who are you? They didn't give me a name. Who didn't give you a name? The townspeople, the builders, the quilters. The quilters make you. Yes, said the Patchwork Man. She said, well, I'm Daisy. He said, I guess you can call me Patch. Well, Daisy and Patch kept meeting overnights and here, there, became fast friends over time. Took a little by little as she brought new patches back to him. Little bits of food from her table. She was hiding from the others. And Patch became, at first he was, grabbing up the food and hiding away, taking, someone trying to put the patches, gathering them. He didn't know how to. Finally, she asked him, why do you gather the patches and not put them back on? It's like, I don't know how. It just so happened Daisy knew how to sew, so she begins to sew back on some of his patches. Starts asking about it, and he's telling her how terrible things are in the town. How he's just lonely. He's been hidden away. Nobody wants to see him. Nobody wants to see somebody who's falling apart. Then she notices that one of the patches that she sewed on before fell off again. She noticed the next day as she's going around town that things are getting more heated in the town. People are angry at each other. There's things going on. There's divisions and things aren't right. And the people start bickering and not understanding each other. And there's confusion and aggression towards those in the backwater town. And they're ostracizing her and ready to. And everything's on edge. It's like there's a boiling point. Well, she goes and talks to Patch about it. She's trying to sew back on one of the patches that she had fallen off. She realized that push of the soul of the town, it seemed. That him and the town were somehow connected. Well, she encouraged him that no matter what he looked like, he could be seen. She saw him. She knew God saw him. So she encouraged him, and over time he finally got up the courage to come out and reveal himself to the town. And they decided they would do it on a Sunday, and so and the old woman had been teaching Daisy a little bit about sewing patches and also a little bit of uh, how to play the organ, since she was the organist. But her hands had too much, what'd you say, arthritis, rheumatoid, yeah, rheumatoid arthritis. So this Sunday was going to be the first Sunday that Daisy was going to be playing the organ. And she said when she gets to the second song, after the preacher preaches, there'd be a moment when she'd be playing the organ again. And so it's not the second song, but the second bar, whatever. Um, that he was to come out of the trap door and reveal himself to the people. So they have their service, and preacher preaches, and everything's going on fine and dandy, except for the divisions and the people. But that's all underneath. Nobody speaks out loud about that type of stuff. So on they go, and they hear footsteps rumbling. About the time that she's playing the organ, she's playing beautifully. She's playing, and she hits that second bar of it, and that rising note. And as she gets that rising note, you hear footsteps rising up steps. And then the trapdoor creaking open, and out steps the Patchwork Man. Patches falling as we speak. He looks at the crowd. They all gasp. He goes, "You made me," pointing at them. What are you looking at? Yeah, what are you looking at? You made me. And look, people, the people losing their minds. People were trying to keep him out, and the pastor's trying to shove him back in the door, and back down the trap door, and so are other people. But he fights them off, and Daisy's telling him no, no, and so nobody, in the confusion, people began to tear at Patchwork Man and tear off patches. This one's mine. That one's mine. Da da da. We can't have this kind of next to this color next to that color, and this patch next to that one, and this cloth next to this, and boom, they're pulling pieces off here, there, and suddenly they're pulling what seems to be old skin from this one, from that one, and pretty soon, the Patchwork Man is just a pile of patches. And the town